right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this dreary, warm, lovely October day. But I'd like to recognize the sponsor of today's event, Barbara Butler, CPA. Barbara Butler lives in River Falls and has owned a CPA firm in Hudson since 1988. She began her business to help people, and she continues to do so by focusing on tax, retirement, and elder care services. Currently, Barbara serves on the board of directors for the Regional Business Fund and the University of Wisconsin River Falls Foundation. See the connection today? I know, right? That's good. Come on, people, this is interactive here. A little response once in a while, that'd be good. And continues to volunteer in other organizations. At this time of year, Barbara and her husband attend numerous soccer games throughout the metro area. Their children and grandchildren accompany them on many travel and cabin trips. Barbara states, "I'm very happy that I chose to open a business in Hudson. The business community over 30 years continues to be so supportive." At this time, I ask Barbara Butler to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, Barbara, for your longtime support of the Hudson Chamber and the community here in Hudson. And you, too, could be a sponsor of an upcoming Good Morning Hudson program. So please see me after if you'd like to sign up. All right, and also I want to thank the Phipps Center for the Arts and San Pedro for catering today. Great job. Looks like there's a little bit more cinnamon rolls and some egg bake and some fruit, so help yourself to that. Otherwise, we have to eat it all after, right? So each program, we provide an opportunity for new members to introduce themselves and briefly tell us about their company. And it's also an opportunity for new employees of businesses to introduce themselves. So I have a couple of introductions I'd like to start with. First, we want to welcome Aaron Reeves. He is the new city administrator for the city of Hudson. Please stand, Aaron. You sound shocked that I asked you to stand.
I didn't know I had to stand.
Did you want to say a few words?
Sure, that's fine. So I just started as city administrator about 3 weeks ago. So I'm very excited to be here, kind of getting settled in and hopefully meet as many people as possible. So I'll try to probably attend most of the chamber events. It's a good way for me to meet members of the business community that I don't have a lot of interactions with maybe day to day, so I think that's great. So looking forward to working with the city. Prior to this, I was a city administrator in Croix, which is northeast Minnesota, for a few years, and before that, I was with the city of Rochester and lived in Rochester for about 18 years. So kind of something different coming over to Hudson, but it's been great. Like the community so far, it's been very enjoyable. Everybody I met just talks about how much they love Hudson, which is good because we're kind of getting settled into and we're really liking it so far. So. It's been very nice. So I look forward to working with all of you and seeing you at more chamber events and other things. And if you ever have anything with the city you need help with, just let me know. That's what I'm here for. So please tell me you have a name and a face that if you do have some sort of issue or question or whatever it is, feel free to come find me at City Hall. I'll be happy to help.
Great. Thank you, Aaron.
Sure.
Do we come to you with all of our questions about parking? I know. And also, we are excited to welcome Madeline Vorlacek. She is a senior at UW River Falls, majoring in marketing and communications, and she is an intern at the Hudson Chamber for the whole school year. Please join me in welcoming Maddie. We are thrilled to have a UW River Falls student right with us, and we look forward to a great year. So there are a number of upcoming Chamber events listed on your agenda, but I just want to highlight some of those. So our Chamber 101 program, oh, wait, no, there's a couple other new members. Where did Luann go? Luann. I know, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, good morning, I'm Luann Lowen with Bridgeway Business Brokers. We just launched in January. I'm a past president, or chair of the board for the chamber with a previous company, and we are here to help people buy, sell, do whatever with their businesses. I live about a block away with a condo for sale, so if anybody wants to live downtown, we need to know that too. So nice to meet you all.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that I missed? My apologies, I moved on so quickly. All right, thank you. A number of upcoming events listed on your agenda in front of you. The Chamber 101 program on October 9th. The Yellowstone Trail Heritage Day is coming up. On October 19th is a Hilltop Pumpkin Party, a great event for families and children to attend that, and we have some new participants this year. October 24th, Ladies' Day Out. Great shopping, men can go too, but there's great finds there around town. And then November 22nd through the 24th is the 34th annual Christmas Tour of Homes. We have 4 fabulous privately owned homes that we're featuring this year. One of them is a 7,000 square foot home that overlooks the St. Croix River. I already have my room picked out in that home because I said, you'll never know that I'm here, because it's so big. So, and they now call it Mary's Room, which I think is perfect. So I'm ready for that. And then on December 4th will be our Holiday Simply Social. So mark your calendar for that, please. What's hot in the community? During this part of the program, we hear about what's going on that's hot in the community in and around Hudson area. And today it's my pleasure to introduce Mark Garrity with the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trails Coalition to present an update on the Lift Bridge and Loop Trail. So please join me in welcoming Mark.
Thank you, Mary Claire.
Thank you, Mark.
Good morning. I am a proud graduate in 1975 of the University of Wisconsin River Falls.
Well, there you go, Mark.
And I am so excited. I'm in the process of reading David Brooks' book, Second Mountain. And he was talking about universities last night. At least I read at night. And specifically, when I picked this up this morning, prepare to think differently. And that's kind of the message that we brought last week to the St. Croix Valley Tourism Conference in Polk County. And Mary Claire, because of prior commitments, wasn't able to attend, so I appeared as Mary Claire. I have a wonderful, but I laid out the potential that we have, and that was the important message last week that we brought from St. Croix County. We were the only people from St. Croix County presenting. And Sarah Meany, our new Director of Tourism, or Secretary of Tourism for the state, spoke. And I am really excited about this, because this is one of the first times that we've had a marketing person who is the Secretary of Tourism, and specifically with marketing training and experience. And it's not just somebody who looks nice or talks nice. This woman spoke specifically about goals, objectives, and what we're doing with advertising and promotion of the state. And that's exactly what we did last week, talking about the potential. This is mind-boggling, the number. 2.69 million miles were ridden on the Browns Creek and the Gateway Trail out of Stillwater. And Minnesota keeps track of this stuff. And so from the standpoint of the potential, and what is to the north of us on the bridge is the Loop Trail, which is 5 miles a loop. And the bridge that is being reconstructed was originally built in 1931, and it was not involving welding. This is all rivets and nuts and bolts. And so when people say it's taking so long, well, they've gone back to 1931 construction to rebuild that bridge, and it is hoped to be opened by January. And but that brings us to the Loop Trail celebration that will be again in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and which was this year, but then the 50th anniversary of the Wild and Scenic Rivers, which the St. Croix was the first. And so that celebration will be the 15th and 16th of May. And again, we talked about the potential of what this brings. And so at that meeting, I spoke on behalf of the Chamber and the Bike and Pedestrian Coalition. Brett Boudreau from the St. Croix County Department of Economic Development, and Bill Rubin, the Director of the Economic Development Corporation for St. Croix County, and Mr. Excitement himself, Mike Polina, who was the former mayor of Stillwater, and also the former Director of Trails for Washington County, spoke and talked what is being planned for the 15th, that night in May, is a spaghetti dinner on the bridge. And that the idea is to have various politicians be the servers. The hope is to get the two governors there, but he's already has the aprons made up. We're here to serve. And so Mike, it was extremely exciting. And so there will be other things involving, and one of the plans is to try to get into the Guinness World Book of Records with a hand chain around the entire loop. And right now they're estimating 6,600 people, with the two governors doing like the golden spike to hold hands. And which would be interesting if two men holding hands out in public, but that's okay. And so but what is on the bridge, and I wish I had the pictures, because I gave a virtual tour of pictures of the bridge, and I highly recommend. You can walk, you can ride, you just can't go across the lift bridge right now. In the middle of the bridge are two medallions showing Wisconsin, 1848, and Minnesota, 1858. And it's the spot where you can actually stand in two states at one time in this area without being in the water. So again, Sarah Meany got a great welcome, and Patty Schochner was there, as well as the representatives from Polk County. So we had a great meeting, and I'm hoping we can do it again next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. This just continues to talk about the partnerships that we have and how important they are within the community across states too. And I had an opportunity to do a bike ride with Mark. He took me on the loop trail across the bridge, and we went 12 miles. That's my claim that I am saying, right? Right, Mark? It was on a tandem. Okay, I was behind. I was a little nervous at first. I was a little shaky because have any of you been on a tandem bike? Okay, right? They make you just a little nervous at first, but Mark is stellar, so I knew I was in good shape. Towards the end, I was able to not even have my hands on the handlebars. I felt pretty good about that. Somebody said, well, Mary, you don't have to paddle the whole time that he is. I said, well, yes, you do. What are you supposed to do? Just, your legs get hurt if you don't pedal, right? So 12 miles, I'm pleased. And we're going to go on a fall ride, right, Mark? On a nice day when it's warm and sunny and not like today. But all right, thank you. So one of the many benefits of attending chamber events is the opportunity to network and make some new connections. So I'm going to invite you at this time to take out 5 business cards. Get up, gather, and exchange with those around you. If you don't have business cards, we have some great printers that are chamber members that can print some for you. But I will bring you back in a few minutes. All right. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce today's featured speaker, Dr. Dean Van Galen. Is the 18th Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-River Falls and has been serving in that role since 2009. A Wisconsin native and a 1982 alumnus of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, the Chancellor, like many other UW-River Falls students, was a first-generation college student. He earned a PhD in analytical chemistry at Kansas State University and conducted postdoctoral research at the University of California at Berkeley. The Chancellor began his academic career in 1987 as a chemistry professor at Truman State University in Missouri. As a faculty member, he developed an environmental science study abroad course in Norway and was named the university's 1988-89 Educator of the Year. Prior to his selection as Chancellor, he served as Vice President for University Advancement at the University of West Florida, Pensacola for 6 years. Under his leadership here at the University of River Falls, he has developed a new education abroad programs and new academic programs, including bachelor's degrees in agricultural engineering, data science, and predictive analytics and neuroscience, emphasizing the importance of undergraduate experiences outside of the classroom. He has inaugurated an Office of Undergraduate Research, Scholarly, and Creative Activity in 2015. Another first for UW-River Falls occurred in April of 2012 when the university's first comprehensive fundraising campaign, Rising to Distinction, was announced. The 5-year goal of the campaign was set at an ambitious $20 million. with an emphasis placed on raising funds for student scholarships in the Falcon Center Health and Human Performance Facility. The campaign raised almost $22 million, with the largest portion of gifts going to support scholarships for students. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Dean Van Galen. A warm welcome as we bring you to Hudson.
Thank you, Mary Claire. Really great to be with you this morning in Hudson. I feel like I'm among friends. So many of you are connected to the university in different ways. A number of employees, but also a lot of volunteer leaders. Mark, who will be our chair of the foundation board soon, Barbara, some other members of our Chancellor's Advisory Council. And I think being here, and you'll see this in my presentation, it's just a reminder of the connection between UW River Falls and the entire region, including Hudson. So I'm delighted to be here this morning and provide you with some updates on the university, but especially focus on how the university is being responsive to the needs of the region. So let's begin. You know, I titled this University of the St. Croix Valley, and I really believe that. The university is based in River Falls, but we really serve the entire region, the St. Croix Valley, and that spans the river, both Wisconsin and Minnesota. We'll look at some demographics, but you know, if you live in this region, it functions as a region. That state border is a porous border. River Falls and Hudson, people are going back and forth all the time into the Twin Cities. And of course, it's a great place to live. So I'll give you an overview, talk to you a little bit about how we're responding to student and employer demands, engaging with the community, and then being partners in economic development for our region. So first, a little bit of an overview, and for some of you this will be very familiar, but I think for some of you it will be new as well. So we have a rich history, right? We're founded as a normal school, opened the doors in 1874. And like many of the UW campuses, that's our history, a teacher's college. Of course, we've evolved over time in many ways. This is the original normal school building, which burnt down in 1897, replaced by what we now know as South Hall. And we honor that history. But one of the themes today is how the university has changed and will continue to evolve to meet the needs of the region. Our mission is to help prepare students, great to have one of our students here today, to be productive, creative, ethical, engaged citizens and leaders with an informed global perspective. Now, if you think about that, there's a lot there, right? And we often have conversations today about higher education. Is the purpose to prepare people to get a job? Is the purpose for them to become educated, good citizens and leaders? I'm going to say it's both careers, lifelong employment, engagement, but also, we talk about the liberal arts and the value of humanities and social sciences and learning to become a citizen and work with others, communicate, work in teams. All of that is what we do as a university. Melissa Wilson is here, and she has done a great job the last few years in connecting with our recent graduates to try to determine what has been their next step, what's their first destination. And we're finding most recently that 93% of our graduates are employed or going to graduate school. We actually are having increasing numbers of students go on to graduate school as we emphasize, for example, undergraduate research at the university. Most of those students overwhelmingly tell us we are a good value. And about 55% have completed at least one internship, practicum, or student teaching experience. So we're trying to connect those students with businesses, with communities, with nonprofits. So this was some great news. A couple weeks ago that you may have seen this, the Wall Street Journal came out with a set of rankings based on a lot of different inputs. And I actually received an early morning email from one of our foundation board members saying, you should take a look at these Wall Street Journal rankings. One of the rankings is based on student surveys of 170,000 students nationwide. Is your college worth the cost? Is it a good value? Are you receiving a quality education at an affordable price? And this is the national list that came out of that. If you look at that list, there are some military academies on there, so that in part might explain the idea of it's worth the cost. There are some privates, such as MIT and Princeton on that list, and we were ranked as the only public or private university in the upper Midwest on this list. So that's pretty amazing, I think, because it comes from our students. I like to say we're tied with Yale, but because U is before Y, we're above Yale on the list. So that's a good place to be. But I think there's an insight there in terms of, I believe, thanks to our faculty and staff, we are providing a great experience for students and yet a very affordable one that is worth the cost. So we're really excited about that, and you'll see some billboards and other things in the months ahead. Here's a message that I'll talk about, but most of you understand. We are uniquely positioned to support Wisconsin's future. On Monday, we had 2 members of the Board of Regents come to our campus. One was from Green Bay, one was from Milwaukee. They had never been to River Falls before, had barely been to this region, so it was all new to them. Let's face it, if you live in southeast Wisconsin, you don't know much about what's up here. So we were able to talk to them about, what about this region? What about having a UW University here? So you all know our location. We're 4 hours away from Madison. And when people drive up here, they say, boy, it's a long way from Madison to River Falls. And I say, yeah, it's about the same distance going the other way, which many of us do many times. I think I've made that trip over 300 times, actually, in the last 10 years. But, we're in a great location. What is this? Take a look at this image. And if you've seen it before, no cheating. But what do you think? City lights. And what else? Anywhere? Europe? Where are we at here? Okay. So Milwaukee, Green Bay, Fox River Valley, La Crosse, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So next slide, put some state borders on there. Next slide, Pierce, St. Croix, Polk counties, right on the border. And there's UW River Falls. So I show this to people who don't know our region so they can understand a number of things. Our location, the power of 3.6 million people right across the river from us in the Twin Cities, and the influence that has on the university, what we do, and its future. Next, some demographic data that you may be familiar with as well. This is a map of the 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, and it's coded by population change over roughly the last 2 decades. And if you live here, which you do, you understand the tremendous growth of this region. St. Croix County grew 38% in population over that time. This entire part of the state is growing, and we know that's driven in many ways by the growth of the Twin Cities. Other parts of Wisconsin have decreased in population. St. Croix County, fastest growing county over that time. Dane County, a lot of attention given there, 23%. The next slide is a forward look at projected population change over a 30-year period. St. Croix County, again, projected to be the fastest growing county in the state of Wisconsin as a percentage, 41%. So the point that we make, I think, from this region to folks in Madison and other parts of Wisconsin is this is a growing, dynamic part of the state of Wisconsin, and we are a huge part of this state's future. And this demonstrates that. And so if you were to start over with the UW system and its 13 universities, I'm going to argue you would put a university, now we can argue Hudson River Falls, right? But you would locate a university in this far western part of the state because of the growth of this region. We have strong ties to Hudson. I think that's obvious, starting with the people in this room, the many volunteers, board members that have been connected to the university, 1,700 alumni in Hudson, 247 current students, and a lot of really great business relationships with UW River Falls from Hudson. Our enrollment this fall is about 6,000 students. Some interesting demographics. We're about 66% female, which is not really unusual in higher ed these days, but we're more that way than other campuses. about a half and half mix split between Minnesota and Wisconsin students, 130 international students from 25 different countries, and our new freshmen come from 442 different high schools, which is rather unique. We're not a place that has one or two huge feeder high schools to our campus. It's a long list of high schools that send 25, 20, 10, 5, 1 or 2 students to us from across Wisconsin and Minnesota. I'm going to frame a few updates in terms of our strategic plan, Pathway to Distinction. We're actually working on our next strategic plan that will take effect next year. We have 4 academic colleges, and so when you think about academic excellence, that really begins with the faculty, the departments, the colleges that deliver a high-quality education. Great to have Interim Dean of the College of Business and Economics, Dr. Marina Aachen, here this morning. Good to see you, Marina. Our largest majors, number 1 is animal science. So we have a well-deserved reputation for being strong in agriculture. That's our largest major. We have the second largest dairy science program in the entire country. But of course, we're much more than that as well. Our second largest major, business administration, biology, elementary education. We really believe deeply in the value of international education, and that is a strength. I'm going to say among campuses like ours in the country, we're among the leaders in international education in many different ways. We really encourage our students to have study abroad experiences. About a third of our seniors report having studied abroad. That is much higher than many campuses like ours. We encourage that. We support that activity. We think those are life-changing experiences for many of our students. Each year we celebrate a different country as a way of learning about a different place, a different culture. This year is the year of Somalia. So it's been really interesting because we often have events with food from the country. And so if you don't know, often in Somalia, bananas are used kind of mashed up into different foods. We're drinking a lot of mango juice and learning about different places, cultures, the arts in these countries. It's been a really great program. And I'd really like to invite all of you to a celebration of international education and engagement. We have over 30 events planned for the week of November 18th through 22nd. They're free, they're open to the public. We have a keynote speaker, Ann Bancroft, that Thursday evening. It's on the website, but more to come on that. I really encourage you to pick some of those events and come out. Some are about food and culture. There's one on Brexit, which is interesting, saying, well, this will be the end of Europe. And so there are a lot of great events that week. So responding to student demand and employer needs. And I think a university, a public university, again, really looks through 2 lenses. One is we are there to provide high quality education, a foundation, a basis for our students to be citizens, to be lifelong learners. Also, as a public university, we have to be responsive to what students are interested in, to the future needs and demands of the state, of employers. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about how we're doing that. As mentioned in the introduction, we've really tried to be very innovative and forward-thinking in developing some new academic programs. You know, basically a university should not look the same way it did 10 years ago or 20 or 30 years ago. You have to respect that tradition, but you also need to change and evolve and look ahead. So since 2015, we've started a number of new academic majors programs, a BS in data science, so that idea of big data, which is very much a up-and-coming discipline, important in many areas of business and life. We started a bachelor's degree in agricultural engineering. Now this one's kind of interesting because there's something called the Northwest Wisconsin Engineering Consortium. So we worked collaboratively with Stout and Eau Claire on bringing forward to the Border region some new engineering programs. Stout started mechanical, Eau Claire started material science engineering, and we launched agricultural engineering. We worked together so that a student could, for example, take their first year at Stout. If they find they're interested in agricultural engineering, they can transfer seamlessly. So there's that collaboration between the 3 institutions, which I think as taxpayers, you would hope to see that type of working together. We started a bachelor's degree in neuroscience, which has really grown and done very well, a bachelor's in criminology, also very popular among our students, and most recently a major in biomedical and health sciences. So in total, we have 355 students enrolled in these new academic programs. Also, the MBA program, thanks to Dr. Onken's leadership, there are new tracks in that program on innovation, leadership, and agribusiness. And then also we have a new program, a master's in strength and conditioning that the Board of Regents approved in July. The Hudson Center. So hopefully most of you know about our Hudson Center, which is almost 9 years old now. We lease space just south of I-94. I remember looking at different spaces about a decade ago, and this turned out to be a really good choice. It's close to amenities, Dunn Brothers, and has really served well for our MBA program, more recently a Master's in Computer Science, and our adult degree completion program. So for us, about a decade ago, this was a very big and different step. We are still a relatively traditional, residential, primarily undergraduate campus, but we thought we needed to serve this region in some different ways. This would be an adult degree completion program in business for people who maybe went to school 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. Maybe they have transcripts from 4 or 5 different institutions. The average age of students in this program has kind of been in the 40s. Many of them live in a place like New Richmond or Baldwin, live in this, work in the Twin Cities, and we offer evening and weekend classes at the Hudson Center. We expanded recently to 7 classrooms, 154 graduates from this program. And I'm going to say very few of whom would be River Falls graduates without this type of opportunity, and in many cases probably would not have completed their college degree. Engagement with the local business community. So hopefully you're aware of the St. Croix Valley Business Innovation Center. So if you drive from Hudson to River Falls, you see the new Sterling Ponds Corporate Park. This facility opened in April of 2018. So it's a partnership between UW River Falls, the River Falls EDC, the city, and Chippewa Valley Technical College. This is designed to be a place for entrepreneurship, business startups. Services are there, really coordinated or organized by the university. And part of this was funded through a federal EDA grant of about $1.4 million. So this is part of our effort for outreach. The Small Business Development Center is there. And part of how we try to partner and support economic development, especially new businesses, startups. It's a multi-use facility in between River Falls and Hudson. So certainly Dr. Onken and others could tell you more about that. But really excited, that's off to a very good start. And then of course, strength in agriculture, and also we have Falcon Foods cheese and ice cream. So if you don't know, we take milk from the farm, from our cows, bring it onto campus, and produce cheese and ice cream. And it is delicious, and students are very involved in this process. And part of that is providing experiences for those students, creating talent that is needed in the dairy industry in the state of Wisconsin as well as Minnesota. So right now we're renovating that facility. We hope to have that open and making cheese again at least by the spring of 2020. But what's been great about this is the partnerships with the dairy industry. So this is a public-private partnership in many ways. The state of Wisconsin has funded the kind of infrastructure, the box into which the equipment will go, and private businesses shown here, each of these has gifted at least $100,000 in private support to the UW River Falls Foundation to support renovation of the plant. So we've raised between cash and in-kind gifts almost $3 million towards this project. So it's striking in a way how the dairy industry has stepped up to help us, and we're very grateful. GEA is on this list from Hudson. The next project, so if you've been on campus, the Falcon Center opened 2 or 3 years ago, a tremendous facility for health, human performance, fitness for our students and community, and then athletics. Rodley Hall, so if you know our campus, that was a dining facility. I don't know if Mark or Barbara had fine dining in Rodley Hall, but that has been closed for about 10 years, and that will become a student success center opening in January. But looking forward, our next major capital project will be a Science and Technology Innovation Center. So again, if you know the campus, that will go on the site of Hagstead Hall, which is our old student union, and will house chemistry, physics, biology, psychology, and neuroscience. There will be instructional laboratories, undergraduate research space, which is something we really believe deeply in terms of value for our students. It will serve the entire campus, right? Everyone, almost everyone, I'd say, takes a science course, and it's part of that liberal education that we believe in. An innovative piece of this facility will be a collaboration and innovation space. The idea here is to bring together, to build bridges between the university and business and industry in the region. So we're just starting to think about, and we're going to ask businesses, what should that look like? How could we envision students and faculty working with scientists, other business leaders in that space? What about joint research projects? What about sharing equipment? What about having a presence in some way of businesses in this space, right alongside our faculty, our students, our teaching and learning spaces? So part of this building will be something pretty unique, I would say, for a comprehensive university in the Midwest. And so we're excited about that part of it. We secured $2 million in design funds in the current state budget that was passed by the legislature, signed by the governor. We appreciate the support of our elected officials in the region, Senator Schochner and Representative Shannon Zimmerman, who was actually on the Joint Finance Committee and was especially helpful in securing these funds. So we appreciate their support, and we're starting that process of envisioning, planning, designing the building. We will need to go back to the state of Wisconsin for the next budget, so it'll be about 1.5 years, and ask them for construction funding. Our current estimate is $111 million for that building, and we've had a lot of support already in helping us advocate for the importance of that building, including the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you, and many businesses in the region. So this is really an important project, not only for the university, but I'm going to argue for the entire region as we look to not only growth, but how do we better connect the university and businesses? How do we produce the talent, the students who can step into the workforce, have rewarding careers, and support the growth of this region? Partners in economic development and the talent pipeline. So yesterday, the Joint Finance Committee of the state of Wisconsin met and approved, the release of some funds. One of those projects was the Dairy Innovation Hub, $8.8 million to be distributed between UW-Madison, Platteville, and River Falls. In a way, this is a response to the serious challenges we face in the state in the dairy industry. Milk prices have been low for many years, and this is an important part of the economy and really the culture of the state of Wisconsin. So the legislature has allocated some funds to these campuses for research, for the development of talent, infrastructure, new ideas, connections with businesses. And so UW River Falls will receive about $1.9 million each year for this initiative. And so we're excited about that, in part because it will connect the university, the teaching, and the research that's done with industry and the development of talent. Talked a little bit earlier about internships, and this is important. And Melissa has done a great job. Our colleges, our departments have done a great job of connecting with businesses. We want to do more of that. And if you're interested, we want to hear from you and how we can better connect with you. Internships, job shadowing, career treks is a really interesting idea that Melissa and her team came up with. So they take groups of students, I think usually 25, into area or regional businesses for typically a half day to learn about that business, to learn about opportunities for internships, for career opportunities. And these are some of the businesses in our area that Melissa and her team have brought students to. I think this is a great program because Uline, okay, you drive by that place, it's big, gee, they have really nice grass and trees, they've done a great job there. But what goes on in there? And if you're a student, what opportunities are there for internships or a career? Another company not on this list is Quick Trip. Well, we all probably use Quick Trips. Some of us have dinner there occasionally. But you know, you go to La Crosse on Alaska and there's a lot to that business, right? HR, there's a business function. They're kind of a vertically integrated company. Well, these are opportunities for our students to learn about the opportunities and possibilities, and for businesses to start making connections with our students. So, Melissa, thank you for your leadership on that. And wrapping up, this is an idea that we are pursuing, and we've done this with River Falls. I think there's an opportunity to do this with the Hudson schools as well. We're having conversations. Dual credit options. So this is a model in which students in the high school have the opportunity to take a UW River Falls course from high school teachers with a master's, at this point mathematics or English, who are certified, qualified to teach university courses. They work with our faculty on campus with the syllabus, with the content. So it really is a university course delivered by a quality teacher in the high school. And the great thing about this is students can earn credits, university transcripted credits, that they can take really anywhere. So of course there's AP, which is also a good option. The ability to take that credit, if you will, depends on how you do on the exam, and then if the university you ultimately want to go to accepts that credit. So we've had a great response this fall. This is the first year of the program in River Falls. About 70 students enrolled in primarily calculus courses, but also some English courses. And we can see this expanding in many ways. And again, we are in conversation with Hudson schools as well to really kind of break down some barriers between the university and the high schools and ensure quality, right? That's important when we talk about, we want things to be easy for students, we want things to transfer. I get all that, but let's make sure we're delivering quality education as well, and this is an example of doing that. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. I'd really be happy if we have time to answer any questions, to hear comments or ideas from this group. Anything at all.
What keeps you up at night? The things that you're most worried about when you look out into what's happening in our region or the world as it relates to your students and your
let's see. Well, I have a buffet I can pick from. Let's see. So I think I'll cite two things. You know, the universities continue need to change, to be innovative. And you know, it's been said a university is like an aircraft carrier. It's very hard to change course. A university is much more like a small city in many ways than it is a business. So sometimes I say legislators would look at a chancellor and say, well, you're the CEO, you know, just make it happen. Well, really, I'm also the mayor of a small town. So I think that balance between engaging campus, bringing people along, and the need for change and innovation. And another one I'll cite is enrollment, right? It's obvious. If you look at the demographics in Wisconsin and Minnesota, we've had somewhat of a drop in the number of high school graduates. The UW system has gone from about 180,000 students to 174. Projections are it will stay about at that level until 2025 and then probably experience some decline. But it's a very competitive environment now for students. And so our efforts at student recruitment and retention and graduation rates, all of that. And there's so many factors that go into that, but we've been pretty aggressive and proactive, but every college and university now is thinking strongly about that. So those are a couple things that come to mind.
I thought that might be a few.
Yeah.
How have you recruited so many international students? And we have a very high number.
Yeah, we have about 130. If you look at kind of the breakdown of that, the leading sources of those students would be China, South Korea, Taiwan, but they're from all over the globe. You know, we have students from Europe, we have a student from Azerbaijan. How they find us, it varies. So we have some strong international partnerships. For example, Zhejiang International Studies University in Hangzhou, China. We worked with them for about 30 years. There are 30 students from their campus on our campus this year. Many of them are studying elementary education for 1 year. We have partnerships that are exchange programs, and so that's part of it. And then part of it is we have an international student recruiter, Brian Holzer, who literally travels the world and goes to college fairs. Our student from Azerbaijan, Jamal, came here to study physics. He learned about us by going to a college fair. I think it was actually in Turkey, which is next door to Azerbaijan, it turns out. And so he learned about us that way. So it's many different efforts, it's partnerships, it's one-on-one student recruitment. I also think we provide a really welcoming campus and community for international students. And that kind of gets back to their friends and classmates back in that country. So we're really, we're proud of that. We think that brings so much to our campus. It's one of the many forms of diversity that we value. And so it's exciting. Some of you have attended, every year we have an International Thanksgiving Student Dinner where we invite all of our international students for a traditional Thanksgiving meal. And it's just wonderful. Many of them have never had turkey and mashed potatoes and green beans before. So it's something we believe in. It's in our DNA. Yeah.
On that same line, and not to put you on the spot, do you have a high percentage of American students that you send overseas?
Yeah, so about a third. So if you look at study abroad, which is something we really focus on, the latest data we have, I think it's about 29%. Before that, it was 32% of our students, our seniors, report having studied abroad. And where do they go? We provide a range of opportunities. We have very affordable programs because many of our students come from pretty modest means. In Scotland, for example, you can go there for a semester in the Wisconsin or Experience Scotland program for the cost of an airplane ticket and not too much more than if you were on campus. We have programs literally all over the world, faculty-led programs. We have Study Abroad Europe that brings groups of students for a semester to Europe. And we provide some financial aid. We'd like to provide more financial support for those students. But it's, and in many cases our faculty lead these programs as well. We've taken students from all and Dr. Spencer, you've led groups to where?
Mexico, Chile, and Paris. Next year, London and Paris.
Yeah. So for our students, I mean, as a general comment, many of them would not go to a program on their own in France to take courses for a year in French. They may not have the background and they may not, that's a big step for them. But to go with, let's say, a faculty member that they've had for a class that they know for 3 weeks or a summer, that's a much more comfortable step. Or to go to Scotland, where the language is, well, almost the same in Scotland, and live in Dalkeith Castle with other students, taught by some Scottish but some American faculty. Okay, that's a kind of an easy first step. Now, once they get there, they're booking cheap flights all over Europe for the weekend, and by the time they're done, what they've learned about themselves, about solving problems, being flexible, different cultures, it's amazing. Yes?
The university has a history of a course in sustainability, and I saw you at the Sustainability Fair on Tuesday.
Yes, that's right.
There were a number of Hudson folks there exhibiting.
Yep.
Were you happy with the way that fair went?
I was. I stopped by, and it was a good group. Mark Klapoch, who you probably know, is our leader in sustainability. Also, you may know that there's a national ranking, if you will, on sustainability. It's called STARS, and we were silver for many years, and then 2 years ago we achieved a gold ranking. So we're doing a lot of things that you might think about in terms of recycling, composting, to be responsible and do a good job with that. I was there. That was a great fair. What did you think?
I thought it was fine. I was surprised at the number of students who came in and circulated and asked good questions.
Yes.
The level of knowledge and information I thought was gratifying.
Yeah.
Well, and I think students today come to the university with, I guess, better perspective and interest in sustainability. So yeah, I'm glad you could be there.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Chancellor, we want to thank you for your leadership and all that you and your team are doing to help prepare students for the workplace and all that you're doing to enhance the community. So thank you very much. We do have a few drawings before we close today. I see the sun is peeking out, but you still might need an umbrella at some point. So, and the other drawing that we're going to add is an opportunity, which I haven't asked the Chancellor yet, but I asked Beth, is to have coffee with the Chancellor. So that, I think, would be a phenomenal prize, one that I would love to get, but I will let someone else win that one. So, Jen or Fareed, does either one of you want to help draw names, and then you can pick if you want to hold the basket. So your options today are a lovely chamber golf umbrella, and I have two books. Some of you have not heard of Mike Veck with the St. Paul Saints, but two of his books, Fun is Good, and another boring derivative piece of crap business book. And all you need to do is read the first chapter, and you'll learn everything in the whole book from there. So these are your options, along with coffee with the Chancellor, if he agrees to that. Okay, thank you. Kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, I apologize. So, all right, so you are going to draw a name, Jen.
All right. Mark Garrity.
Mark Garrity. What are you going to select today? All right, well, there you go. So if we could pass that back to Mark. Don't hurt anyone with that.
I'd be an angry old man.
Andrea Jorgensen.
Andrea, what are you going to select today?
Coffee with the Chancellor.
All right, there you go. All right.
Serena Downey.
Serena, yes, from Nalato. Yes, you get a pick of a fabulous book. They're both very good. This one I love, but they're both very good. They're both good. All right, and who wants their little book? All you have to do is read the first chapter. But I mean, read the whole book, though, because it's all very good.
Melissa Wilson.
Melissa, yes, you will love this one. You can use that in part of our Leadership Hudson. Melissa is consulted with us in our Leadership Hudson program and led the workshop that we had for our kickoff last week. So, great. All right, thank you again to Barbara Butler for sponsoring today. We greatly appreciate your support. I look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. Thank you so much for your involvement in the Hudson Chamber, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.